So it should be no surprise to anyone that Xenoblade Chronicles is one of my favourite game series of all time, which is one of the reasons I'm making this video. But if you don't feel the same and would rather listen to me hate on Xenoblade instead, then you should check out my other video on 8 things I hate about Xenoblade. But for all of you enthusiasts that love, adore and treasure this game series as much as me, then strap in as we take a look at some of the things that makes Xenoblade an amazing series. Also, for any new viewers, there will be spoilers throughout this video, so you have been warned. I'm going to start off this video talking about the villains. They're amazing in almost every Xenoblade game, and almost all of the villains in those games are really good as well. They manage to be extremely lovable and evil villains all at the same time. And although some of them might be a bit sociopathic, like Metalface, you've also got the other villains which go through their progression through the story, such as Egil or Jin. Egil's the easiest to explain for me, as Egil starts off basically looking for world domination, and then the moment you and Shulk and the party members all defeat him with the power of friendship, Egil sees the error in his ways and doesn't necessarily change, but accepts what he was doing was wrong, which is the type of progression you expect from the main character and protagonist of the series. And it's quite a pity too, because I never really see many people talking about how excellent the villains are in these games. Even the Ganglion from Xenoblade Chronicles X is excellent. Yeah, they're not quite as lovable, but you're literally fighting an entire alien race. Nothing could be more epic. Well, actually, they could have let us play the initial cutscene, which would have made it more epic. But those are minor details. But that's one thing that I absolutely adore about Xenoblade, is the freaking villains that you go up against. But for every villain, there also needs to be a hero. And that's the other sort of aspect where I'm kind of cheating, because Xenoblade in general just has excellent characters. All of the main characters from pretty much all of the games are extremely lovable, with a couple of exceptions here or there, but for the most part, everybody. Shulk and Rex go through so much progression as characters, from where you start the game off to where they end, that they look like completely different people. Shulk's arguably the best example, from starting out just going out wanting to avenge Fiora, to literally becoming the god of the world and saving everybody, just because he cares. It's this type of development that makes their characters so addicting. And it's not even just the protagonists. Zeke's my favourite side character because of his quirky attitude and him mentally thinking that he is guiding Rex on his journey, almost as if Rex is his student or something silly, because it's obviously the other way around. But even the side characters that you forget about. Callian from Xenoblade Chronicles 1, a really interesting character and has an amazing personality to complement the story. Vandam, Xenoblade Chronicles X style, with his big bulky arms and all of his boasts throughout the entire game. Never actually does anything, but he does sound like he does. And Niall, Inquisitor Morag's little brother, who even though we don't get to see a lot of him, still has the depth and detail of any of the main characters. Monolith Soft definitely know how to make some characters. And if you thought their characters was good, just look at the amazing worlds that they make. Part of the reason that makes Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 so appealing and amazing is the fact you're literally walking around on living / dead for Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Titans. Like the idea mentally of running up from the back of the leg up to the knee, running up the leg, around the waist and to the back to the head to get to, well, Prison Island is just an amazing idea and concept. And to a certain extent, I'm surprised no one's thought of it beforehand. The areas are also breathtaking. I genuinely tend to lose myself when recording in the amazing scenery that goes off in Xenoblade, with the main culprit being the Kingdom of Uriah whenever it has the cherry blossoms falling. The sight of that blows me away every single time. The only thing that I could ask for is an area, preferably an area like Gower Plain and Gormott, considering I tend to very much like the landscape and terrain of those very grassy and filled with plant life areas, to have a really nice location and a beautiful sunset, because we don't really have a good sunset area in Xenoblade. But excusing that minor detail, everything's amazing. And to quote the famous Chugga Conroy, in a Xenoblade game, in almost all circumstances, if you can see it, you can probably go there. Next up, I want to talk about something a little bit different. Comedy. Xenoblade Chronicles has a very unique sense of humour in most circumstances, and it's either I have a terrible sense of humour or the games are just plain stupid funny. But I find all of them hilarious. Some of the moments, interactions, and just general things that happen in the storyline can be absolutely laugh out loud funny. And I understand humour is up to different people's tastes, especially Xenoblade Chronicles 2's style of humour, as if you don't particularly enjoy Japanese culture and things like that, then you're probably not going to get a lot of the jokes and not find them particularly funny. But for me, they're absolute comedy gold. From looking at the interactions of Ryan being his wacky self hitting buttons that he shouldn't touch, Lynn making about 50 recipes that can consist of using Tatsu as a base, and Tora and Poppy just being, well, themselves. And the interactions you get from things like the side quests, heart to heart, everything just has that little aspect of comedy, which tends to be really good when you tend to just take the edge off the seriousness that's going on around us. I mean, keep in mind, most of these games are set in a world-ending situation. You need a little bit of a laugh to lighten the mood up a little bit. And let's finish off with the key features that make any game good, with the storytelling. This is the main reason that Xenoblade is one of my favourite games, because to me, the Xenoblade series has the best ever stories. Within the first couple of hours, the game easily has you hooked, and by the end of the usually minimum 100-hour experience, you're blown away by the scale of the world and the story that's just been told to you. And that's the main reason that I'm so excited for the next Xenoblade, so that they can expand and extend upon the story that's already being told, and the fact that they have so many questions that they need to answer. But all of this combined, including the previous points, just makes an incredibly diverse world and an overall amazing experience when you, the player, get to experience it all, especially for the first time. Now let's talk about something from a completely different perspective, the gameplay perspective, because I want to talk about how excellent the combat is. The real-time combat and strategy is so immersive when you're playing through, but not only that, it's also easy to learn. It's literally moving around your opponents and choosing what move you want to chuck out when, and then being prepared to counter-attack as the enemy performs theirs, which in my opinion is much better than the turn-based JRPGs, which are basically old school now compared to Xenoblade anyway. Shots fired. But no, the gameplay of Xenoblade is incredible because it's easy to pick up and learn, and therefore for a beginner to enjoy the game and experience it to its fullest. But the combat always then goes so much deeper, allowing veteran and experienced players to go the extra mile and do things that are literally inconceivable when you first start the game, such as beating Avalanche Abbasi solo with a level 46 Ricky. I haven't done it, but I know other people have. So yeah, Xenoblade, don't change the combat because it's already perfect. And now I'm gonna go a little bit softer and talk about something a little bit cutesy. One of my favourite aspects of Xenoblade is generally the community. A lot of these games are old, with the exception of Xenoblade Chronicles DE, which is the remake of an old game. And still to this day, there are tons of artists making fan art for the game in every which way possible. And the Facebook pages and Reddit subreddits are booming with activity the entire time. And as an overall community, as other people have noted, it's one that's far better than a lot of other communities, because you say one wrong word in one of those and it's almost like it's World War III. Yes, as a Xenoblade community, we defend our game from people who make an opinion that it's a bad game, and then we put them in their place because they're completely wrong 9 times out of 10. I mentioned in the other video, 8 things I hate about Xenoblade, that people can dislike a game and the game's not going to be for everybody, but I'm not going to go too in depth on that, because if you want more on that, then watch that video instead. But yeah, that's just another reason that I adore Xenoblade. It's because of all of you and the community that Xenoblade has. And then finally, the final thing on my list of things that I love about Xenoblade. And it just comes down to the little details, literally. The fact that you can see Colony 9 from Colony 6. The fact that you can jump off at the destroyed Sword Valley base and end up at the Fallen Arm. The fact that when you're choosing a name for Numa, it changes the final cutscene in relation to what name you picked. It's these tiny little details that allows Monolith Soft to make a game as immersive and amazing as they do. They're almost like Easter eggs, and I can't wait for the next Xenoblade to find all of the little details that they're going to be adding into that game. They're probably working on those right now, but those are just a few reasons on my very long list of why I absolutely adore Xenoblade. To show me that you made it this far in the video and for a little bit of fun, leave a comment down below on your favourite aspects of the game. And don't worry, there doesn't have to be 8 like me. But not only that, if you have enjoyed this video a lot, then consider hitting that big red button that's right beneath this video right now, so you'll stay up to date with all of the latest up-to-date Xenoblade news and stuff that I'm going to be bringing you over the time. But until next time guys, I hope you've all enjoyed, and peace.